What's good? Welcome to the second episode of Valley Vision. I'm Abby Alonzo, producer Joe Money. I don't know where that just came from. I just gave you a new nickname.
It's also not the nickname
No,
I'm going to roll
stick.
with. But
Joe Mitchell on the sticks. We've got loaded show, lots of LSU football to talk about, some awards, some talk about Denver Harris, what's going on with him. Garrett Nussmeier had a good presser this past week, and then we're going to give some shout outs to our girls on the LSU Gymnastics team for doing their thing on and off of beams, bar, floor, all of it. And then, of course, LSU baseball is still relevant because you've got some powerhouse guys just doing their thing in the minors, and that'll lead us into our Tiger Tea that we'll have at the end of the show. So without further ado, we will jump right into LSU football. Denver Harris. They had their team picture come out on Monday. He wasn't in it. That started a lot of speculation on what's going on. Why wasn't he in the picture? Is he suspended? Is he cut? What's going on? Brian Kelly had a press conference yesterday addressing the media, and he said that basically he's taking care of personal matters. If he can get everything fixed together, he could be back as early as this weekend. Remember, Harris was involved in that scuffle that happened at practice where punches were thrown, people were sent to the locker room. It was a big deal. And even at A&M, because he transferred from A&M, he was suspended twice with the Aggies. So behavior issues are not new for Denver Harris. They're new for him at LSU. But again, Brian Kelly said if he can get it together, he should be okay. Maybe a suspension, but could be back as early as this weekend. We'll keep you posted on anything else we hear about that. Switching to more of a positive note here, Garrett Nussmeier. We know that Jayden Daniels is QB1 for this season. There's a lot of eyes on him. He's in the Heisman conversation. You're hoping to see him step up in year two and become more of a quarterback instead of an athlete. Great athlete, uses his feet really well, but you want to see more of that quarterback play, hopefully some more team chemistry with Jayden Daniels leading the charge. But he will be QB1. Garrett Nussmeier obviously is his backup. The media kind of asked him, dude, you could go to pretty much any school and start. You're good enough to do that. Why are you staying here? And I think Garrett's response says a lot about the culture here at LSU. I quote, he said, "It matters to me to wear this state on my jersey. I think it means something to a lot of guys on our team. I was born in Lake Charles. My family is in Lake Charles. Being a kid who moved around so much, Louisiana was the only constant in my life, and every time I would cross over the border into this state, it felt like home." Kid's a leader. For him to know that he's got the talent to go lead other D1 teams and still stick around, staying behind Jayden Daniels to hopefully lead the team in the future, he's got a lot of pride. He believes in this team. He's on board with what Brian Kelly is doing, and I think those are the kind of guys you want to lead your team. So Garrett's answer was exactly what you want to hear if you're an LSU football fan. You've got a good QB1, and now you've got somebody who is, there's no ill will towards Jayden Daniels. He is supporting him 100%. He knows his role on the team, and he's going to continue to be a leader whether he's on the field or not. So, again, something you absolutely want to hear from your QB2 and somebody who could lead the team in the future, depending on what happens with Jayden Daniels. God bless. Hope we don't see an injury. But if we do, we've got somebody that could hold it down. Speaking of some other guys that really level up this team, some leaders, Perkins Jr. This is another guy a lot of eyes are on. He had a great year last year, and he was just listed 4th overall on ESPN's preseason top 100 college football players. Not only that, but he was the first linebacker listed, which just makes the case stronger for him being the best linebacker in college football right now. And ESPN stated, look, he can play linebacker or edge rusher. He's an impact defender wherever he lines up. He was learning the ropes in the SEC a year ago as a true freshman, but still led LSU in tackles for loss with 13, sacks with 7.5, quarterback hurries with 14, and 3 forced fumbles. We're looking for another stellar year out of this kid, and I think it happens. He's, again, had a great year last year. I think we see that roll over into this season. Joe, I know you have some more insight on kind of the defense here. You want to
Yeah,
feeling?
so Harold Perkins, he led the team in forced fumbles with 3, but he actually had one taken away against Arkansas.
Okay.
So I want to say he should have had 4 or 5,
Yeah.
just, had there not been penalties, or, like that. But, I mean, this dude is the best. No matter what game LSU's playing, he's the best player on the field at all times. I truly believe that. You can look at what Lane Kiffin said last year whenever LSU was playing Ole Miss. He said, like they asked him what changed in the second half of the game. He was like, 40 was on the field. Like, that is the highest praise you can get from an opposing coach.
I was going to say that's one of the best compliments. And his stats speak for themselves, but he's a leader as well. And this defense, I think, kind of needs that. Maason Smith is going to be back, and I'm rattling off all these names because they're getting all these preseason honors, and I'm excited to see this defense work. I know we talked last episode kind of about some chaos or question marks around the secondary, but if you want to look at the defensive line, I mean, it's in good shape. Maason Smith was just listed on Bruce Feldman, who is with Fox and The Athletic. He does this list of college freaks, or for like preseason freaks, top 100 freaks in college football. And Maason Smith was on there as well. I think he mentioned Savion Jones and Mekhi Wingo. I think that defense is going to be killer, led by Harold Perkins. Speaking of Maason Smith, I just said he was listed on that freaks list, but he does have an ankle sprain right now. Brian Kelly kind of calmed everyone down and said that it's not anything that they're super concerned about, but given his status and the fact that he missed the entire season last year, aside from 8 snaps, went down with the ACL injury, you want to be careful. This is a high caliber player who, his injury isn't serious right now, but I mean, you tear your ACL, everything's connected to that thing. So you have to be very careful with any kind of leg injuries. Everything hurts a little bit more, Brian Kelly said. So they're just taking things lightly, monitoring it, kind of being very cautious with the ankle injury, but it shouldn't be anything serious or anything that prolongs him from seeing the field. And we hope he's on the field because, as Bruce Feldman said when he listed Smith in his freaks list, he said he had a really good freshman year, which he did. Then he kind of flashed and was very disruptive. The numbers, over 19 miles per hour on the GPS, and just the length and everything else. He is 15 pounds bigger than he was last year. He'd expect that this would be a very dominant defensive line, because there were 2 other guys that could have been on the freaks list as well, and he's talking about Savion Jones and Mekhi Wingo. Again, like we said, solid line going into the season if he can stay healthy. You look like you want to add something.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that Mekhi Wingo wasn't on that list, because without Maason Smith last year, Wingo was an All-American. Like, he was one of the best defensive linemen in the entire country.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so to give context, the freaks list is like, I think his explanation was these are players that like
profile physicality,
right, crazy athletic ability, not necessarily looking at stats, just kind of they have aspects that blow the minds of the fans of their team. So that's what the freaks list is. But I would agree. I think Mekhi Wingo could have been on there. He even said it. He could have been on there. You know who else was on it? Malik Nabers, and his explanation. Nabers led the SEC in receptions with 72 and ranked 2nd in the league in receiving yards with 1,017. He's reactive. He's probably one of the better, obviously, receivers in the room. I know Brian Thomas Jr. is somebody you're high on.
Yeah, I'm high on him. But no, Malik's fantastic.
Yeah. He's got a very good vertical jump, and I'm reading his explanation for why he's on the freaks list. Very good vertical jump at a very fast rate, so along with having a vertical leap of almost 40 inches, he can reach that feat faster than anyone else on the team. He also produced, this is wild that he has these stats, 2,700 watts peak power on power clean, which is remarkable for a skill player. So that is why he was on the list.
So he's talking about explosiveness right there in bar speed, which is
But I think it's so
impressive.
To read 2,700 watts. That was funny to me. Yeah, explosive. Obviously going to be an asset for the offense. So just wanted to shout those guys out. They are getting their preseason praise, but of course, that's preseason stuff. You got to see it on the field. You want to see it in action. You want to see it translate into wins for this team to hopefully see some playoff action I don't know how close we are to that. I liked how you said in the first episode, I think we're the first team, because we got ranked 5 in the AP poll, the first team that won't make the playoffs. I don't like that, but I think that was a good explanation. I'd love to see us in the postseason, but.
So here's a fun stat for you. I know that was Associated Press, but if you look at the preseason coaches poll since the BCS era, you look at the preseason coaches poll, and then you use those rankings to bet on postseason games, whether it be playoffs or just miscellaneous bowl games. The preseason coaching poll is a great indicator of who's going to win in those bowl games, like more so than Vegas's odds of that week. Like consistently.
How'd you find that out? Like
just research. But I want to say that Vegas has a 52% win rate on those games whenever they put those lines out in real time. But the preseason coaches poll is 59% for betting bowl games.
So if you like to bet on LSU football, I would listen to Joe and use what he just said.
Yeah, if they're not in the playoffs, take them to win.
Go make some money. All right, we'll switch over to some LSU gymnastics. I don't think they get enough love. They did this year get a lot of attention. I mean, thank you, Olivia Dunne and Elena Arenas, for their TikTok star power. But there were 6 gymnasts named as 2023 WCGA Scholastic All-Americans. Elena Arenas and Olivia Dunne are both on that list, along with Ashley Cowan, Kiya Johnson, who, by the way, Kiya Johnson will be in the shop next week on the Up and In show. So if you want to hear from her and hear a little bit more about LSU gymnastics and her personal story, make sure to look for that interview. Anthony Renato will steer the ship on that one. It should be a good one. And then Kamryn Ryan and Eliana Shchennikova. All 6 of those girls got those Scholastic All-American awards. Props to y'all. We love to see it. Girls who can do both. Snaps. And, of course, LSU baseball. You thought we were done talking about it. We're not. It's not going anywhere. That team was incredible. The guys on that team are still doing their thing in the minors. Dylan Cruz, here's some stats for you. In 10 games with the Nationals organization, he's got a .370 batting average, .431 on-base percentage, a 1.127
on-base plus slugger.
Yeah. On-base plus slugger. And then 17 hits, 17 RBIs, 3 doubles, and 4 home runs.
Strong.
What do you mean? Bro, he's moving up.
He needs,
It's going to happen quickly.
Yeah.
A talent like that, I mean, the stats speak for themselves, but you've seen it throughout his entire time at LSU. He has had no problem translating that to the next level. Did you expect anything less?
No. I mean, watching him for 3 years at LSU, he was unbelievable. I mean, not that I'm a scout or anything, but I feel like we all had this idea that he was, if it wasn't going to be this year, he'll be up there next year.
To be completely honest, I don't know why I'm even surprised anymore. Like, you look at these numbers and these highlights, and you're still like, wow.
Yeah.
But we've seen it for 3 years, so why is it still a shocker? I don't know. Paul Skenes, too. We saw him come in his 1 year at LSU. I wish we would have had him for longer, but his 1 year at LSU, he changes the game, and then, again, goes to the next level, doing the same thing. He made his debut with the Bradenton you got to say the word, I can't.
Marauders.
I can't read, y'all. And he hit 100 miles per hour, struck out 2 in 1 inning. He had 16 pitches, and 10 of them were strikes. This is another guy you're going to see move up pretty quickly. The Pirates actually offered him an opportunity to hit, too, because if you know anything about Skenes, he used to hit when he was with Air Force, and then he kind of shifted his priorities and wanted to focus solely on pitching. But the Pirates were like, hey, bro, you want to hit? He said no. He said, I want to keep pitching my number 1 priority, which, I mean, that's your moneymaker. Why change things up? It would be fun as a fan to see Skenes at the plate, but I respect it. Definitely want to keep pitching as the first kind of priority for him. I know there was some comparison between him and Shohei to see, because, I mean, Shohei does both. To see Skenes kind of do the same thing would be really cool, but it's not happening yet. Maybe we get there one day, maybe we don't. And this is actually the perfect segue into our Tiger Tea for today, because This one is actually really cool. I got very excited whenever Joe told me about it. A member of Japan's Little League World Series team. So the Little League World Series is kicking up. They always do the cool interviews and ask the kids, who's your favorite player? What's your favorite movie? And you get the cool, funny answers from these young guys. And they asked this kid who his favorite player was. Remember, he's on Japan's Little League World Series team. And his answer was not Shohei Ohtani. It was Paul Skenes. That's incredible. Not like so many reasons. I mean, the reach of LSU, you're touching or, leaving an influence on these kids on Japan's Little League World Series. An SEC college baseball team in Baton Rouge, Louisiana has that much of an influence on people across the world, specifically Paul Skenes, which I think that is incredible for Paul alone. Personally, I hope he sees this because that is something to be commended for. The fact that you're influencing kids across the world who don't even speak the same language is truly an honor. And I think to go a step further, to be named over Shohei Ohtani is insane in itself, right?
Yeah,
Joe?
yeah, that's wild. I mean, Shohei Ohtani can legitimately make an argument to being the best pitcher and best hitter in the MLB, and arguably the best ever. I'm not going to say that yet, but arguably.
Yeah.
And then a guy from his home country is going to, pick a player from Baton Rouge
Right.
is awesome.
No disrespect to Shohei. I love Shohei, but I think to see Paul Skenes be named a favorite player of a child in the Little League World Series is inspiring, honestly. Yeah. So props to you, Paul. That's super cool. I know this is the second episode. We've talked about you both times. But you're a cool dude. You've got a huge influence, huge reach, and we love to see it. That is all we've got for y'all today. We'll be back tomorrow on Friday with hopefully some more good football updates, some more Tiger tea. We appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all soon.